Here's a video where I show you a nice method to create graphics in Microsoft Word by way of doing it in PowerPoint first. So here we have the mechanism that was used for homework 2, right? So we have this is the animation of it. I think our best bet for analyzing our mechanism is to do it in the second position. So I'm going to, just for the sake of, all right, so analysis. Actually, I kind of wish I had gone back a little bit further. All right, so it's kind of in the second position right here. I'm going to screen grab this and use that as my means of making a vector loop. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want it to look pretty good, right? So, and we can leave it on this image if we wanted to. And we did, just for my convenience, I used the animation, but you could use the SolidWorks if you wanted to for this. But we're just trying to write out the vector loops and make them as clear as can be. And I think in this middle position might be a little better than in the other two extremes, because we do want to capture the essence of this, right? So first thing is to create a vector. We'll go into Insert and Shape and just make a line, and then decide from. Whoops! I should have pointed out right here. Let me point out first that you need to right-click it and hit Format Shape, and then we have the formatting thing that comes up. You also have the option to use these drawing tools at the top, but I really think the formatting thing onto the right hand side has a lot more features and it's laid out a lot more interesting. So I'm going to go down to this solid line and I'm going to increase the width. I think just in terms of the proportions on the screen that I have right now, that looks about good to me, right? And I can choose a color to start with. I'm going to choose, well, it's almost better to use this figure over here because these colors might not show up on top of each other. But this does kind of help us see what our mechanism is going to look like. So anyway, so I'm going to go back to this line and I'm going to add an arrowhead to it. And I decided of these choices of arrows, of the 3 arrows here, this is a circle, it's a diamond, and this doesn't have an arrowhead. I'm going to pick that one. He showed up on that side. I'm only going to do one side, obviously, but if I wanted to do 2 sides, I could do this. Some of this is so much clearer to you that I don't even need to bring it up. I'd also mention you got 9 different arrowhead proportions to look at here. I really do think the one in the middle ends up being best. So, I'm going to make this the ground, but of course this is green and you can't really see that green on top of the green. So I will do this first as my main ground. Actually, let's make it in black first, then we'll be all cutesy with the colors. That's probably a better idea. So I have 2 4 bars in this, and your project will have that same thing. You want to decide which one you consider the crank, and because we are using a driving dyad onto this main 4 bar over here, you could think of the dark blue one as being the crank for the time being, because that's the one that gets moved back and forth. There's a little bit of you could call it a little bit of a backwardsness to this, because everything is kind of like mirror image from what we're typically doing. We usually get kind of going almost in we'll see soon what I mean by that. So I can hold down Control at the same time as clicking on the arrow, and that's the same thing as copying and pasting, and then I just let go. So we could walk through our vector loop here. And typically on our vector loop, right, we start at the main origin, that's this guy right here, and then we go out and they meet up against each other. So I am clicking onto that and clicking onto here, and now we've got ourselves a vector loop. onto the thing. And then, by the way, we could move this over to the side and still have it. The arrows do kind of get in each other's way. So maybe, even though I liked those proportions, maybe I want that one instead, and I'll make them all the same. So what I can also do, by the way, is if you want to do that quickly, click on this and then click on the Format Painter, and then go on to the other two. Each time I have to do it. And now we've fixed that arrowhead, and now you can see the definition between the two arrowheads. That's fun. If I wanted to label these, and you only have to do this one time, but it's nice to do. Go into Insert and do a text box, and unlike Word, it doesn't it doesn't make the background white and it give you a border. We're going to go Insert, and it looks better to use equation, and then use the features in here, right? So I want to subscript into here, and I'm going to go R, and let's go R1 to start with. And then we also want to if we want to make this a vector, vectors, I'm kind of combining some vector looks, but I think this one looks best. If we highlight the R, make it bold, turn off the italics, and then we're still highlighted there under equation design, under accents, you have this little hat right there. Boom. Whoops. Oh, by the way, this happens all the time. So for whatever reason, this is a quirk in when using equation editor in PowerPoint. It, for whatever reason, will make it side by side instead of even when you've selected the thing. But now that's a pretty good looking guy right here. Sometimes if you have a longer thing, you might want to start changing the amount of indents that go onto this. I usually get rid of a lot of them. I mean, nobody could tell, but it will sometimes affect it. Sometimes it's useful. And you have do not auto fit is also. I found those things to be useful when you decide that you want to overlay on top of something and block out on. So if you were to dimension something, and this was going to be sitting on top of a thin little arrow that was going to dimensioning line, you'd want to block out halfway through. Well, then you would do the fill thing, a solid fill, and now it would, for instance, it would look like that right there, right? And that's why you might want to do this thing with the text box, to be able to control how wide that blank in the middle of a line might be. So anyway, for R's, this is the R1, and I think it's probably best to call this R2. And then this is the coupler in this case of R3. And also right here, this is R4 now. All right, so we're going to continue on. We can make these different colors once we move this thing out of the way, as we mentioned. Or you could leave it like this if you want, if that conveys your thing. But here's one issue with trying to explain the vector loop. Or use the vector loop with these, let's call it a 6-bar, now we have to do this other vector loop right there. So there's a vector right there, and this one we're going to give a separate number. Now, a lot of times we will call the ground as one thing, but this does have a direction and position, and as a mathematical matter, needs to have that right into the thing. So here's a problem that we need for the next one, right? So that's the ground. I guess let's do this one now. Here's the crank, but usually we're going the other direction, and that arrowhead kind of looks a little ridiculous. So we might want to change that one again. And by the way, I'm having a kind of a hard time with the snap on that one. All right. You can move him up a little bit. Using the arrow keys, we can kind of adjust that. And that's not so bad. I mean, if we wanted to really get it in line correctly, you could bring it over to there and hold down Shift, and now you could bring it exactly right into place. let's see. We might want to pick a different size. Boom. No, maybe a little bit like that. We don't have that many controls. It would be affected by if. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that one. It would be affected by making this thinner. Maybe that's the way we want to go. I don't know. I think that looks pretty decent. Let's take a look at the other guy that we have to do. All right, so I guess I'll make it the last one here. I put them on top of each other. All right, so now we have a vector that needs to be overlaid, and maybe the arrowhead's enough to do it. I don't know. Let's see. It needs to go right to there and to there, right? So that's all messed up. So that's where the colors kind of help to come in. I'll put them blue right there so you can kind of see, and now you can number it because this vector is on top of that vector, right? So this vector is essentially the same vector, just shorter. They start at the same spot. They go in the same direction, but because it's in essence a part of that R2 right here. So now numbering of them, probably the continuation, right? So we had here, and by the way, I'm holding down Control as I had grabbed that thing so I can make a copy, and that's 5, and this is probably, usually go in order right here. So here's the crank of that 6, and now here's going to be 7. It's the coupler, if you will, of the driving diad 4-bar, and then oops, let's see if we can get it. Oops. I guess down here below this thing might be the best way to put it in there. All right, so you could draw these out like this. I don't want to. I made this long already, but let me jump to this portion of the thing first and show you what we can do. All right, so we can grab all of that, hit Control C, open up our Word document, and here is magic. Okay, so first off, you could just paste it and leave everything in there. But you kind of have a hard time if you need to shrink the size of the thing. Everybody gets moved around. Oh, and by the way, I'd probably, it doesn't like that, right? So everything got messed up. I hit undo just now. Probably going to make the thing crash. There you go. So let's also hit undo again. All right. So instead, paste it, and this is really important. I found you could paste it as this picture, but it reduces some of the clarity. Instead, paste special as an enhanced meta file. That seems to make the most amount of, especially as you shrink this thing, and then if you zoom into the thing, it still maintains a lot of good resolution on top of that. All right, so that's a really interesting and important thing, I think, in terms of making this out, right, to express it. And you might want to, instead of selecting that background, have this instead onto the thing. So you paste again, paste special, and right here. So there you go. So we might want to look at that. And now the colors of this will probably help enhance the viewing of the thing, right? So if you don't have that as the background, and you might want to keep this, by the way, it doesn't kill you, so to duplicate it and then get rid of this right in there. And by the way, you could also, if I had these, let's see, I could go back up to this, and here's a little trick. If you want to make these two things the same size, first bring this to the front, go up to Format, go to Set Color and Set Transmitted Color, and make white blank. And now you can kind of see, wow, it was already pretty good, but now we can hold down Shift. Actually, I don't know if you have to hold down Shift. Yes, you do. So you can see that it will not keep its aspect ratio here. So hold down Shift, and it will keep its aspect ratio. So we got it right around there. Okay, cool. So now what we have, and by the way, let's get rid of this, because now we can right click on that slide and hit duplicate, and now we could go mess around with this thing as much as we want. So maybe we want to get rid of the background in here, send this to back, and come back over to here. Maybe that's a figure that we like. It's up to you, right? To say, okay, well, here is how I would like to represent. See, and I can nudge it using the arrow bars, the arrows. It's some of these get on top of each other. Maybe that's good enough. I don't know. You also might want to record some of the angles on these. All right, so maybe we want to make this one, change this color back over here. Change him to green. Boom, because ground and green both start with a G. This is your traditional red right here, because he's my crank. Maybe I like yellow, but yellow might not show out so well. Maybe I'll take a variation of yellow. No, not any better. Mustard, kinda. And this one will make him a nice blue, like that. So this would also be a ground. Make him a darker green. Does it look like that? Or how about really dark green? Yeah, it's looking kind of blackish. I don't know. We could make this crank right here for the driving diad. Maybe make him another red. They look a lot alike, but they're not near each other, so maybe that's fine. And you could also, by the way, you could make these change the colors up here to match that. Right? It's just there's a visual appeal type of thing aspect to this that can help the reader, or make the whole thing make it look better. Doesn't hurt to get fancy schmancy, making people think, oh wow, oh that's a visually impressive thing. And then I didn't make this guy a color. Let's see. We want to make him kind of orange or yellow. Is there another kind of yellow that's going to be better? No, that stinks. That's not that much better. I do like to have the yellow as the coupler. I think I do. We can go to more colors. It looks a lot like the other one. I don't know. And by the way, if you don't have a color, right here, it didn't like show up right there. You could go eyedropper if you want to and make it match. Boom. Still not loving that color, but maybe that's a good figure. I don't know. A little cluttered, a little stuff. Some of the stuff, we didn't plan it out that way, is kind of in the way of the other thing. But we would like to talk about the various Grashof things about this figure. Let's see. I also, if I wanted to make another copy of it, one of the things we'll want to do onto this, and maybe the next thing is going to be preferred when doing using sketches in SolidWorks to convey it. But I might also do this right here to break these apart so I could start discussing the angles. So this is just even more dimensioning or different little portions of this that will be helpful. Right, so I'm going to start out with another line. I'm going to make it black. In this case, it's a 0.5. That might not be too bad. I want to use that as a reference line. And maybe I want to draw something, draw an arrow in between. So here's the one to use, is this arc, right? Make that arc, bring that arc in, make it black, and you can make it symmetric. I actually did a pretty good job. Look at this height and width up here at the top. Make them the same, right? And you can add little arrows to both sides. We'll use that guy and make him really short, as short as we can. We're kind of limited. It's kind of better to make them shorter than that, but I don't have any choice. But what I could do is, and truth be told, that would be the correct spot to do it, but we're going to kind of fake it in here, and we would maybe put that in there. No, that doesn't look all good. We could rotate it some and kind of put it into here, right? We could also make another one here and rotate him. Constrain him. Okay, so we want to be able to communicate our angles. So I would go up into here. I'm going to make that into a theta. Bring it down here. And I'm going to get rid of my bold. Oh, it's not bold. No, actually it's correct. Okay. The whole thing should be italicized. So bold, italicized. Okay, there you go. And it's not bold. So there you go. Okay. So I don't. So here is theta 1, and then we want to put theta 2. Make him red. I think he's regular red, right? Same thing true for. But truth is, this is kind of like. I think it'll be fine. We actually might want to double check that I'm right on this using MATLAB as we do the position analysis, that these things are fine. And I don't really quite like that rotational aspect of this, and I only did that because it was kind of a funky piece right here. We might want to make this bigger. There you go. So bring him in and go theta 4 and make him blue. And then lastly, and then this one's almost 90 degrees from what it looks like, right? Yeah, well, it is 90 degrees, right? Yeah, because the thing was upright, dummy, yeah. There you go. I was able to select it. Sometimes they are hard to select. And here you go. Boom. We got ourselves a theta 3. So I think I've given you enough things to like be able to draw these little tools and everything, and I think they look fairly professional, better than better than most right there. But that's a vector loop, and I can continue using the techniques that I have here. There's a bunch of other little tricks and stuff that I've done to try to make figures look presentable into papers, but right there. I think the main trick out of all of this is how to paste this into a Word document, and that is by way of Paste Special and the Enhanced Meta, and it looks pretty darn nice. So there you go, 23 minutes worth of instructions on how to make a vector loop and make it look like it's something that you want in your figure. More to come later.